Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Dean Wilkinson. Hey, what's up, Dean?
All right, Staxx, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well now. Trying to get my feet wet in this racket, man. Doing videos, trying to promote my book, and people have been very good to me. The subscribers are starting to build up a little. My intention in the beginning was to just sell books, but it's now evolving into something else, and it's all good. It's all positive shit. So.
There's people from all over the country, and but there's not a lot of people from your area that are doing what we're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to mimic somebody else. I'm trying to. It's hard to be original. There's nothing new under the sun. But I'm just trying to get a. I don't know. I don't even know exactly what I'm doing yet, as far as what my niche will be with this or what. But I'm figuring out as I go along. But meanwhile, I just put videos out talking about, for the most part, my adjustment back out into the world. As they know, some people know, after more than three and a half decades in the can. But, it's not an easy adjustment. And a lot of guys, they need help. Really, not so much even the ex-cons. I try to enlighten family members and loved ones of these guys getting out to help them understand, to give them insight on how to approach that guy that did time. Because everyday normal life goes on for people out here. They take everyday life granted. Where the guy who's done a lot of time, there's a lot of shit involved with his adjustment. A lot of pride, false pride involved when you do time. Shit, like simple things. I know guys that can't, sometimes they can't differentiate between when they're dealing with a supermarket manager or something that has a bad mouth. Obviously, you don't respond to that guy like you do a guy on the yard in the joint. But some guys are in such a bad habit responding for so long to a certain way to things, they may do that on impulse when they get out. So I try to help family members or loved ones of ex-cons to understand how this guy or woman may be thinking, and so they can help them in certain situations. Like just going to a store creates so much anxiety. It ain't funny.
So how long have you been out, and what's it been like for you to try to get adjusted?
Well, here's the thing with me. I've been out 15 months, and I made it easier for myself, but only because I'm a 3-time convicted felon. I've served 3 bids already, a lot of time. Each one, 7.5. Then I did 10 straight, and I just did 18 years straight. So through my experiences from the first 2 bids, I knew what to expect. So while I was still in the joint, probably when I had about 10 years in on the 18. I had about 8 years in on this. I'm doing a 30-year bid. I'm still doing it. I'm just on parole. But I was in a high security. I was in back and forth, which what some guys would call a shoe unit. Down here, it's just called Supermax, right? So 23 hours a day. For me, I just the anger was tearing me up, for one. So once I started to learn how to overcome my anger and deal with that, I started writing. And I don't want to keep repeating my story over and over as I tell it in all my interviews. But writing is what kind of saved my ass. And I got a point here. So when I started writing, then that made me steered me towards getting an education. So I ended up, just for the most part, I only got an associate's degree. I got no bachelor's degree program. But my point is, once I got a little bit of an education, and once I felt like I had a purpose, because a lot of guys, they're aimless in prison. You kind of can lose your identity in a joint after a long time. They'll try to strip that from you. But for me, when I started writing, I started communicating with people on the street, professors when I was going to school. You start to develop you have an identity with that. That's a title. I'm an author. I don't know if that makes sense the way I'm saying it, but you have to do something constructive. If you just play cards and watch TV your whole bid, and I was that guy pushing dope in the joint and everything. I did it the other way, but then when I found out a new way to do it, I started trying to prepare myself for society. And how did I do that? First of all, I got involved with a program where they taught, like, if you remember the Scared Straight program, I think it started in New Jersey. Well, it's kind of a watered down version of that here. I got involved in that. And really, my agenda for getting involved with that wasn't in the beginning to talk to the kids. It was to help myself talk to teachers and people in society. So really, my agenda wasn't even all that fucking honorable. But then in time, I got the idea of talking to the kids grew on me. So my point is just doing that program itself. It's a way of civilizing yourself. You follow me?
Yeah.
So I got involved in that, and then you know, like I said in another video, I would call people whenever I could. I didn't want to be a pain in the ass, but at the same time, I always try to keep a little bit of myself out in the world so I know what's going on. I didn't want to walk out of the joint lost. You follow me?
Yeah,
like not know what's going on. Listen,
Yeah.
I'll talk to a pregnant woman about her pregnancy. Like I could have a niece. You understand? And plus, I'm a writer, so I wanted to capture the true essence of what I was writing about by talking to someone who may be experiencing what I'm writing about. You follow me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're out in the world, you're just your everyday normal life. You're around that stuff. In the joint, you don't see it, which is another topic: emotional intelligence. That won't grow in the joint. And I knew I had an emotional intelligence problem because what I mean by that, you get mad for the wrong reasons, or you have misdirected anger at other people. That's the shit you gotta learn before you come back out in the world. You don't want to come out here like you got the attitude you have in the joint. So I don't want to ramble on about it. My point is I did a lot of work on myself to prepare myself this time because the previous 2 bids I did when I got out, I was all fucked up. So my point was my experiences from the past helped me understand that. And then to answer the question, I tell you all that to tell you this. When I finally got out, it was a lot easier for me. Okay? Because I had prepared. I'm not saying it was easy by no means. I got all kind of shit going on. I mean, you don't do 36 years in the joint and walk away from that. You understand?
Man.
But I met a good woman, you know, that goes a long way. She helped me financially because money's a problem for a guy. I used to take scores down for a living. I used to rob banks. That was my thing. Money was my issue. You understand? So if a guy like me comes out, I'm full of false pride or pride, I don't get a car, forget it. I might make a move just to get some money. I didn't have to do any of that. You know, my wife helped me. I built credit right away. I was doing all these civilized things, and turns out the shit works. But
yeah, if you work it the right way,
you just got to be patient. And I never did it the right way. This is my first attempt. I'm 55. All right. This is my first attempt at change. Other people thought I didn't get out and try to have a failed attempt at change before. I got out with the intention of robbing banks. That was my agenda.
Oh, you were planning, like, so when you were in there, you were planning.
I was planning scores in the joint and committing. I've been charged with crimes in the joint. You know how that is. I've been charged with assault. They tried to get me for trafficking, all kind of little hustles. My point is, I was up against a lot, but at the same time, I prepared so well. I was actually a little nervous about it. Damn, am I going to be able to pull this off? But, you know, a little bit of luck involved, a lot of hard work, and going to school in there is a big thing. Even if you don't use the education itself, when you acquire something like an associate's degree, it's an accomplishment that does something for your psyche. You follow me?
Yeah.
Because if you're someone of a weaker fortitude, the fucking screws or hacks or COs, whatever people call them nowadays, they'll make you feel less than. Or other people, when you're in a joint, because you're just a number. I never allowed that shit. And it's another thing I like to tell people about my early days of adjusting. I remember I was reading a little bit of psychology. I came across the word sociopath. I'm reading the fucking thing. My picture could have been in that fucking comment. Now they say if you call yourself a sociopath, you're not one, because a true sociopath would never admit that. For me, that was like good news. Well, if I'm willing to say I am, then maybe there's still hope. Institutionalized and sociopath were 2 fucking words that draw. And in the background is all these whispers. No one tells you to your face, but that kid's never gonna make it. You know, shit like that. He's all done. I have a brother who did as much time as me too. He just got out. He just did time for a body. He's struggling, you know. And I have an infant daughter now, 7 months old. I'm 55. I'm married.
Congratulations, man.
I appreciate that.
It's a handful, though, right?
I'm overwhelmed. I've been overwhelmed sometimes, but I have good support. And I overcame the biggest thing I thought was going to be a problem is my in-laws. They've been fucking terrific. Only because they see quality in me. If they thought I was they don't pushovers. So between my wife and her family, a couple of my family members, I've been very fortunate. Not every guy has that. So and I kind of danced around on you in the answer, but hopefully I've answered the question how my adjustment went. I didn't want to just say it's going well. I wanted to tell you why it's going well. You follow me?
Yeah.
Because I prepared for it. So
Yeah, it takes a lot to set everything up.
yeah, listen,
remember-
it took me fucking a decade in the joint just to get ready. I'm telling you, I started 10 years ago. And listen, it works. It does work. You got to prepare. I know guys, I see guys coming out. They go to these little halfway houses. We don't really have halfway houses. What we have down here for state, they have a federal halfway house. They use sober houses. They stick guys in them. They call it a halfway house. We don't have state halfway houses. They're working on it now. They take a guy that just did, I know guys that just did 30, 40 years, stick him in there. All he did was play cards his whole fucking bed. This guy's got, the odds are against you if you just get out like that. And I knew that. So
you stick them with a bunch of drug addicts who want to get high and they're out there looking, searching the streets. So
half of them right. That's right. Half of them got attitudes. You got fucking street guys running in and out of these fucking joints. No one's watching it. I'm not making a complaint about it. I'm just saying that's the scenario over there. And man, if it wasn't for my wife more than anything, my wife had to uproot herself from another state, come down here and find an apartment for me. And let me tell you, she had a pit bull. Well, they thought it was a pit bull. She has a boxer. Certain areas you can't have those dogs.
Yeah.
So she had to overcome a lot to get into this apartment I'm in. And she did really well by me. But yeah, so and if anything, I try to, in my videos, I try to give back in my own little way. There's a part of me that kind of wants to do that. I'm not saying I'm this great guy. I didn't have this big epiphany. You know, I had some guests here who are leaving, so forgive me. All right, you guys, take care. Thanks for coming over. All right, nice to meet you. I'm sure I'll see you again soon. All right. And this guy I'm talking to is going to make me famous, so.
All right, try.
Anyway, I hope I answered your question. You got to forgive my rambling answers. I'm still trying to sharpen my game.
It's all good, man. I've been there before, you know. I've adjusted to life. I didn't do that much time.
But listen, it don't take much time. How much time did you do anyway?
About 5 years altogether.
I was just going to tell you, they say 5 years. If you do like 5 straight or more is when you start to have an impact on your psyche.
Yeah, it wasn't straight. It wasn't straight, man. It was spotty here and there.
Yeah, well, that's enough to sit you down and make you fucking think about what you did. And it gives you lucky you get another chance to get back out in the world and do it over.
But like you, I was in prison. I was really thinking, like, what kind of crimes can I get into? It was it's kind of like a college for criminals. Because when I was younger, I was like, I could do burglaries. Where I'm talking to other criminals about where's good places to do it.
It's a school for criminals. Crime's the curriculum, and the prison is the school. You know, that's what. If you want to go down that road.
And anything you want to get away with in there, you can. Like you want to smoke weed, you want to smoke cigarettes, you want to be in the mix of all the bullshit. You can be in the mix.
And even though that sounds silly to people out here, but even just getting tobacco and smoking it is almost like a criminal act, and you're still in that criminal spirit when you're doing that in there. If you follow me, I'm not saying it's gonna make you go commit crime, but when you're actively engaged in all that shit, and I believe I've been to the hole a million times. I did time in the 80s. That's a different time. You know, I'm sure you know that. I mean, would you do state time in Connecticut?
Connecticut in the late 90s.
Yeah, listen, I know about Connecticut.
But I've heard about Rhode Island. You can't go up to the correction officer by yourself.
But what's about the time, Staxx? That's all changed. It's changed. But I remember summers back in Connecticut back in the 80s and early 90s was fucking off the hook. Yeah, I know guys that went out there. Listen, no joke back then. I don't even think I think it's a reception center or something. I don't know what they call it.
Now it's a half a prison, half a jail. So people that get arrested go there, and there's people serving time there for like.
You can await trial on one side and then do a little time in the other. Or they'll say, I remember when they erected some of those joints like McDougal or something, a couple other joints. I remember them. And they had a war going on out there in the early 90s. I don't know if you ever heard about that. Well, of course you did. The gang wars in Connecticut. I remember all of that shit.
Yeah, man, I was in a gang back then. I used to be affiliated with 20 Love.
I know a couple of them guys. A couple of Rhode Island guys got involved with them, and a couple of guys I know all my life. They got involved in that. And yeah, they were running wild out there, man. That was you did time in a real joint. I don't care. You don't have to do a lot of time. It only takes a couple of days of exposure to that shit. And, you know, you have to become somebody. You put it this way. You'll get to test who you are in them joints, you know?
Yeah, like I started young.
Yeah.
I started young. I started the first time I got arrested, I think I was 14.
Yeah.
And I went to Little Cheshire, MYI.
Right.
I've been through the system, man. In Connecticut, it was not fun.
The fucking system will swallow you up and chew you up and spit you out, man.
And Rhode Island's a small state. So one thing I want to know about Rhode Island and the prison system is, so you're in Rhode Island, you have a problem with somebody on the street. Say you got a problem with someone on the street, you go to prison. It's a really small state, so you're liable to run into them, right?
Unless the guy tells them right away. They have, and for the guys that do want to sign out, do want to bring that to the attention of the fucking COs, they got obviously a protective custody environment, or it'll fuck your shit up because they only have one big compound. They got a maximum security, medium security, add another medium, they closed it. They got a newer one, well, it's new to me, and they got a minimum security and a high security. One big compound, that's it. And the population in there, when it's at its peak, it's only like 3,500. It's a small, but that makes it very unique. So let's say you're in maximum security. I'm in the intake center, and I'm trying to, I catch a bid, and it's on record we got a beef. They will now send me to medium security, right? Or maybe that guy's in medium security, and I'm only doing 2 years, and I'm supposed to go to medium. Not a maximum security where you're going to be exposed to all that. But if the guy you got a beef with's there, you can't go there. It fucks. Now you got to go to max.
So now it's really making your bid harder.
So you could be a guy doing 2 years and you're stuck over there. But now they got a thing where guys sign off. Before they call it SIU, the internal police. They'll go to each guy now because it was clogging up the system. So they had guys stuck in high security that don't belong there 23 hours a day until awaiting the opportunity to resolve the issue, right? They make both guys sign off. Some guys sign off and still make a move. But on the other side of that, if nobody says nothing, you bet your fucking ass you're going to run into the guy immediately. It's so small. If you're catching a big bid and he's doing a big bid, you're going to max. And for nobody knows, it's the craziest fucking thing. But, you know, I want to be careful how I proceed. But max was a wild-ass joint. I talk a lot about the old days. But in 1990, maybe 91, I want to say 1990 because I got out, they brought down this new prison director. First, he took over Walpole and changed that around. And then he came down here, and the guy was fucking, I don't want to use the word brilliant, but he knew what he was doing. He knew he had an agenda. He was like a troubleshooter. We had on street clothes. We're selling drugs like right on the fucking corner. Guys got swords. It was fucking... Guys are getting lit on fire like any other big penitentiary. But it's so small, he knew he could fucking rearrange things. So he started taking things. And they got this, what really triggered a riot is they came up with this thing where if you get a dirty urine, a dirty tox screen, not only do you do 30 days in a hole, you do another 90 on this other status where you're not in the hole, but you're in your cell all day, you come out for a little bit of rec, but in population, they take
kind of like confined to quarters, right?
Yeah, and they'll take your visit for 30 days. If you get another urine, it's 6 months. If it's another one, a year, or maybe you never. So no one had ever heard of no shit like this. So the first time they did it, a guy came out in the yard. You know what they just did to me? Everybody said, "What? We're sick of this guy," and then boom, it just ruptured. Right? Nobody really got too many guys and get that hurt, but they tore the place up. But the guy wanted that. He locked the joint down, and anybody with influence, he shipped them out all over the country. Federal prisons. Guys were in fucking anywhere they had an interstate compact.
And this was all state prison?
The guy had an agenda because there's only 439 guys in that penitentiary here, max. So let's say you got 100 core guys that got to go. High security, they sent the guys to fucking federal, to Lewisburg. Right? Federal. They sent guys to Illinois. What's that? Statesville, but they call it something else. Joliet.
They can do that?
To this, yeah. We got, I don't give, boom, they got interstate compact.
That's crazy.
They trade guys, though. They'll send guys down.
Yeah, I have seen that where they trade people to Virginia from Connecticut. Someone got killed down there.
Well, I remember, I got a story. One of my stories about that Connecticut guy that got killed in the yard in Rhode Island. I seen him killed. Nuts. I didn't see him, but I watched him die. But in any event, they send guys all over the country. They bring in out-of-state guys in, and the out-of-state guys are a little off balance, first of all, and anyone influence is gone. And then they started trickling all the week. I don't know if they use the term inmate versus con, if there's a difference where you're from.
There's a big difference.
The inmate just kind of goes along. The way I explain it,
the inmate doesn't tie a sheet on his bed. The convict ties the sheet,
Right. But also the inmate kind of goes along with the program. You don't buck the system. Where the con will stand on principle. That's how I see it. Shit like that. So they took all the hardened cons out, brought in all these, and then they started trickling guys with bad cases. And then when some guys started trickling back into the system, they couldn't hit like me. I came back off the street. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And I had that convict mentality. And that's how I ended up in one of my beefs, because an inmate didn't know what the fuck was going on, did some offensive shit. I had to make a move, but it got so bad I was buried in 23 hours a day. If I didn't make some type of change and sort of adjust, I'm not saying I adopted the new principles, but they almost left me alone. I ended up with assaults on COs along the way. And what they did was they brought in all these young boys on steroids, COs.
Yeah.
And fucking running around, jumping guys, handcuffing them, throwing them down the stairs. It was like take the prison back type of thing. Then they dug the whole yard up, took all the weapons out, took the buildings out of the yard and built them outside the wall. And they put a hole in the wall. So this way here is all the security if you're going to enter. My point is they rearranged everything. Now ACI is not the way you've heard anymore. I mean, it's still a little bit of violence, but I would have to use the term weak. Guys in Rhode Island on a serving time that never been in a penitentiary, if half of them ever got shipped out even to Connecticut, they're in big trouble. There's so many bad fucking, there's so many guys in there with bad principles or whatever. They don't know real prison because they're in a fucking joint that's upside down. That's the ACI of today. There's a lot of good guys, but guys like me just kind of backed away where I would have responded. I hated it. It was really bad. What I really did was, in the old days when things were bad, I probably wouldn't have had time to write books and stuff. So what I did with this new environment, I said, all right, you can't keep spending your life in a hole you're doing 30 years. Just see if they'll compromise a little. I just left people alone, but I started writing books. I started going to school. I took advantage of the new to make that change. I said I might as well prepare my.
But sometimes people will bait you, though, right? Have you had that?
I fell down a couple of times. History will only carry you for so long. But the good thing, the unique thing about, like you said, it's so small. I know a lot of cons of different races, black cons, Spanish cons. At the end of the day, and as you know, New England is the race problem is nowhere near as bad when you go out west, you say. Black dudes from the street, you might be all right with them in a joint. You might not run with them, but Spanish dudes, I know a lot of good dudes. A good con's a good con. It was so unified. We had so much unity. If you're a white con or black, let's say you're a white con, right? In the old days, you walk by. If you see the COs jumping a black con, I don't give a fuck if that guy was your enemy, you don't like him, or if you're the biggest racist, you're going to help him. And if you don't, you had to answer to the white cons and the black cons. I've had a bunch of black cons fucking save my ass one day, and I had to step up for them. And then if you don't like the guy, you can go back to that later. That's how much unity it was. Now, they can give you a beating in the fucking yard, and these guys will lay down. They lay down now. It's a new element. I forget the point I was trying to make. I rambled so much, but the prison's changed. I guess what I'm saying is I took advantage of this new prison to improve on myself. The old days, I was too caught up in so much shit. There was no time to be writing books. You follow me? So in a certain way, the new prison allowed me. Oh, I know the point I was trying to make. I'm sorry. It's so small. A lot of guys from the street. So let's say I go to a cell block and the majority there is Spanish, because sometimes it ends up like that. A lot of them don't know me. They might, but I know at least one Spanish con in there. And what they will do is they'll go to them guys good con, blah, 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 leave him the fuck alone, and he'll make a move on, whatever. And so, because it's so small and I know so many guys, I've been in so long, that's how I got away from all that baiting shit. Because I had
so they just kind of leave
it was,
you alone.
I'm not trying, listen, by no means am I saying I'm some fucking Billy Badass. I'm
like,
saying,
yeah, you walk in the room, everyone's just like, oh no.
Like that. Yeah. Listen, I've been hit. I've been on both ends of the knife. I'll never come at viewers like that. It's definitely not a tough guy thing. It's I can outthink some things. I mean, I got baited a couple of times, but for the most part, because it's so small, it did allow me that ability to navigate the terrain a little easier. And there was a few bad moments, but it would have been much more difficult if I hadn't done a lot of time. If this wasn't such a small state and I didn't know so many guys.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Now, if I go to another joint, if I was from a bigger penitentiary, it wouldn't turn. But that's Rhode Island's uniqueness for you. It's just so fun. I mean, you got guys that their family are working at the prison. I'm not saying that they're good at easy, but it's just fucking crazy. It's different, you know? But the only problem is once you have a reputation, the whole system will hold that over you your whole fucking bid. You can't get out from under it. But there's a few old timers, the old time penologists, let's say, an old time warden. They didn't give a fuck about, they didn't take it personal. These guys lived through wars just like we did. Yeah. Give the fucking guy a break. Let him do that program. And so the old time wardens and stuff, they'll give an old time con. Look, don't worry about it. I'm letting them do like when I wanted to train dogs. You know, the general consensus. We can't let this fucking lunatic in here. But the old time knows, the old time warden's looking at, no, this guy's made a change. I'm going to give him a shot. And so because it's so small, going back to that, you know, like you've been around the warden for 40 fucking years, almost. You understand?
Yeah. He knows. So he knows you.
Right. Hey, Dean, don't fucking embarrass me. I told him you're going to behave. Don't worry, warden. I'm fucking, at the time, let's say I'm 50 now. Do I want to? And it's just different. So don't get me wrong. You walk into another joint, any part of the country, you're going to start all over and renew your fucking license. I get it.
And you're going to have to put in the work, though. You're not, you can't just skate through.
That's what I mean. When I say renew your license, you got to put some work in. Yeah. Down here, there's more fist fighting than anything. And guys like you and me who did real time, if that's all you're doing, then let's get it on.
It's only a fight.
Listen, I'm very humbled by the old days, the violence. I know enough. I know you can go in any penitentiary in the country, and you might not come out of that motherfucker. If you're too cocky about it, and you think you're a fucking tough guy. I have my approach to that. It's a little different. I respect violence because I've lived it. I think I did a video on that earlier. Guys who never engaged in real violence are those guys you see talking tough. Fuck it. Yeah, this guy ain't been through it.
The minute you react to them talking, the minute you react, all that shit stops.
Right out the window. Once they see a real motherfucker. And the funny thing is, guys that are real generally have a good personality. They're not looking for trouble. I read a quote earlier. I seen it in a book. Violence of youth burns its way up and like a candle into gentleness of old age. So I think the more violent you are, the more, not gentle, but as you get older, because you've been through so much, you're willing to you just want a peace of mind. As opposed to some punky guy who wants to make a name for himself. Well, once he gets hit, if he survives it, he'll get humbled. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen it happen, right, man. I've seen people get humbled, you know?
Yeah, right.
Walking around with black eyes on the compounds.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. So
there's nothing like a piece of humble pie with a
humble pie. Well, that's right. And and they're lucky if that's all they get is a black guy.
Yeah. Can you explain when they stabbed you?
All right. Yeah, I did a video on it, but so the story's a little long. I'll try to make it short. It really starts in the street with this group of 5%ers that came down from New York. A lot of these guys did time. They were about in their mid-20s. They did time on Rikers and all that shit. They seen Providence as a spot, and back in the late 80s, they came down to Hartford Projects, which is on the west side. It has nothing to do with me. And they took the projects over. They ran out all the weak motherfuckers, and they started selling out of there, and they had all kind of fucking, the motherfuckers were strapped. So they had this mentality, you motherfuckers are weak. And they did take it over because a lot of weak. I'm not saying everybody down here was weak, but it's been weakened over the years around here. I shouldn't even say that because there's young boys out there putting in work now. But at the time, that's the way I think. I can't speak for them, but from my opinion, they seen that. They took the projects over. They got knocked off. They come into the ACR. They seen a lot of weak element in there. These guys came from Rikers. So they were like bullying motherfuckers and shit. And I'm a little guy. Guys don't sometimes they can't read what you're capable of doing or whatever. Not saying I'm a bad motherfucker. I'm saying I can step up to the plate and defend myself. And so I had a little altercation with them in the jail, which we call the intake center. I come out of SAG. I got a little store order. That was in my items that were in my bag before I went to the hole. So when I came out of the hole, nowadays I think you throw it away. I still have, and these guys are in the block. Canteen hadn't came. It's not like other states where you can go buy stuff right away. You wait a week, your canteen arrives. So by the end of the week, motherfuckers are hungry. So anyway, it really wasn't about that. It was about testing me. One of them was they kept the whole crew in one block. I come to the block. Yo, what you got for food? First of all, I put it this way. I responded appropriately like a con. I don't want to sit there and act like a fucking tough guy, but I'll put it on the motherfucker too, just like they'll put it on me. So I let them have a little bit with some words. So we're all in maximum security. You know, I only say this because we call it booked. You might call it a ticket where you're from.
Yeah, ticket. Yeah.
I have a lot of tickets for trafficking. I've been to high security for trafficking in heroin, which at the time I was allegedly doing. These guys had the same mentality they had in the fucking projects. They're gonna take over the trafficking racket, and in mass. And I had a crew. I ran with a crew where if you're not that bright, you're not gonna see our worth. But I had my brother. We're all a bunch of little guys, but every one of us had put in work. We got the cement wet. You understand? These guys had an attitude, chip on their shoulder.
And they're not even from your state, man. And they're coming into your state trying to take over.
Yeah, now you get it. Yeah. I'm leaving all that out. I'm trying not to, but maybe I should tell it like it is. So that was my mentality. Who the fuck you think you are? You're going to, all right. So what happened is I never sold to strangers, but I knew this one dude came to me. I had some weed at the time. I sold this dude like a half ounce of weed. He didn't tell me he was selling to one of them. I think one of them motherfuckers played him, get it off me, as an opening to start some shit. You follow me?
Yeah.
Here's what happened. He sells the dude the weed. Next day, I'm in fucking child. One of them dudes from New York approached me. Yo, all this aggressive shit. Want my money back. You said, what the fuck you talking about? I let him have it. I was strapped. I was strapped at the moment. None of my boys were with me, too. I was alone. He tried to corner me and chop, right? I said, it's no bullshit. He's a big boy.
He said, I want my money back for the weed.
Turns out, truthfully, the guy was right. I guess the weed was weak. I didn't really smoke weed at the time. I got like an ounce off somebody. I bagged it up here. And this guy, I heard it just happened all fast. I thought I was selling to a guy I know. He ended up selling to this dude next day. But I think the motherfucker, in my mind, he used it as a way because they're watching me and my crew operate. And now they're looking for a way to fucking come at us. You understand?
Yeah.
Normally, I wouldn't associate with strangers. Just so happens that's what happens when you're in a fucking small prison like this.
Yeah.
So you want your money back. I'll tell you what, motherfucker. I forgot how I said it. I had a bad mouth. I'm not going to act like, but I said my shit. And we had what you call like the blind side. We had all these blind spots. You want your money? Come and get it on the blind spot, motherfucker. I'm going over there right now. I said, I don't like you motherfuckers anyway. I was talking shit. But I'm talking shit because I'm willing to try and back it up. I left this part out. There had been a lot of building stuff. I heard they made a move on this guy. They bullied that guy. We're just getting sick of this shit. And so that day, long story short, I went to the blind side. I'm strapped, ready to do it. Because, you're trying to get away with it. Back in those days, there was no cameras. There was no COs around. They had a skeleton. You can stab a motherfucker in the corner and keep on going in the old days. He didn't come to the blind side. And this is a fucked up thing. I had got out on parole. This is part of the story. I did 5 years on 10. When I was 16, I caught 10 years at 16. I did 5. I made parole at 21. I was a fucking savage when I got out because of the way the joint was. I was out 6 months. I came back for a shooting, attempted murder. On this day, what happened is I beat the shooting. So now I go back in front of the board. They re-parole me. On this day, the next day, no, the same day I had the thing with this guy, I was going to the parole board, and sure enough, I got my parole back. So in those days, you wait on your bed, on your bunk. They come by with a card, granted or denied. They didn't tell you at the board. This parole board didn't do it like that. They still don't. You find out days later, or in those days, I found out. My point is, I went to my cell. I slept at the fucking. I'm still a young boy. This was 1990. All right. So, the 5%ers ate with the Muslims, and you're familiar with Ramadan. And this joint, the Ramadan guys will eat like an hour earlier. They fed them separately because of the feast or whatever. The 5%ers, I don't know what the connection is, but they ate at the same time. I'm in my cell expecting this guy to come out with me when the doors open. He didn't. He came out early. They had a rookie screw. And I fucking literally in my cell, I rested. I normally got my magazines. But at the time, they were raiding me. So all my shit, I had an old guy next to me. Some of the cell blocks, the cells are this close. They got a thin, it's called Steel City. I reach around and give the guy all my shit. All my weapon, my drugs, my shit's in the cell next door. I started resting. I got my card. I made parole. He comes out early. On the way back, I slept at the wheel. Instead of him yelling out my cell, they got a rookie. They got this thing at the end of the tier. They open all the cells. 3 tiers high. It's an old cell block. They pull these levers. So the rookie looks down. Instead of yelling out his number, he holds up my number. The rookie don't know he hit 10. Oh, fuck, hey, he played me. He got me. Yeah,
he's like this. Top 10. Top 10.
There was like 3 dudes out there. The guy holding my shit was an old guy. He didn't want no trouble. He didn't want to wait. He goes, Dean, we're out there talking for a couple minutes. My fault. That's how you learn, Staxx. Slept at the wheel. Next thing I know, I got a motherfucker on top of me with a mask. He caught me sleeping. So I got hit here. I blocked a couple, right? One more somewhere else. I got hit 5 times. A couple here and one here. And a couple from trying to block it. I got my foot between us. First, I thought I was fucked up because I kept coughing up blood. I don't want to extend the story. If you ever watch the video, you get the extended version. It's kind of funny. Because I thought I lost the gold necklace. I was so fucking mad that I thought I got robbed. I wanted to fucking bust out of the ambulance to go.
Did they
you want to hear that aspect of it?
I want to hear like what happened after you get stabbed.
All right, I get stabbed, all right? So I get hit. I stand up. I feel all right. I'm bleeding. This ain't too bad. Maybe I can patch it up. So I go to bend down and take off my clothes and put on clean ones. I started throwing up all this blood. I said, oh, shit. I don't want to be too fucking stupid. I might be dying here now, I'm thinking. And so I walk to the hospital. They're holding all the shit to me. But meanwhile, my boy comes to the gate. In those days, you could tell a lieutenant, get the fuck out of here. I'm all bloody with towels. Get the fuck out of here. He wasn't going to let me out in the yard. But I told my boy who I thought it was. As I'm in the hospital, my brother's in the yard. A fucking riot's almost starting. It started elevating. I'm in the fucking ambulance. Then I realized my necklace. Where's my fucking necklace? The fucking EMT's going, will you take it easy putting a mask on me? Get this fuck. I got shackles on, but I'm fucking like, I'm going. I got the shackles on. I was fucking, and listen, like how big that is. People on the street, what's wrong with you? So I get to the hospital. I'm telling the CO, listen, I got shot. Check the fucking ambulance. I want my fucking necklace. Where is it? Because I don't remember it getting grabbed, but I don't want it because it wasn't the value. The value was I had it for 15 years. A friend gave it to me a couple of years earlier. But not only that, I thought I got robbed. That was driving me crazy, right? And so a doctor comes in. First, the street troopers come in. In those days, one had a little portable typewriter, one has a tape recorder. Dean, you don't look good. I'm throwing up a lot of blood, right? Honestly, I thought I might be dying. He goes, so, what are you going to let this, you're going to just die and let this guy get away with killing you? I said, what do you want me to die, you fucking rat? Get the fuck out of here. So they left. I'm driving this doctor nuts. Where's my fucking necklace? Because now I got the shackles. They're on my feet, but my hands are like loose, the chain's here. But and he goes, the guy's going, wait. This is a doctor. He reaches around. Matter of fact, I got a necklace on now. He reaches around It's down my neck in the back. What the fuck? He goes, what's wrong? I said, oh, thank God. And he's like, what the fuck, kid? You got 5 holes in you. And I said, listen, you don't understand the environment I live in. I was so happy to know I still have my necklace. Then he wants to do exploratory surgery. He said he got to do a catheter. I said, a catheter? There's got to be another fucking way. Come on. But here's what happened. Long story short, all that blood, but the doctor understood something. Because the color of the blood, I forget if it's too light or too dark. He goes, because your blood is so dark, I don't think anything, or so light, I don't think a major organ was hit. It doesn't make sense because I can't make sense of all this blood. They put some liquid in me, in my veins, and they take an x-ray to see if any major organ is leaking. He couldn't find anything leaking. He goes, I might be able to avoid it. I talked him out of the catheter. He goes, did you get punched in the face or anything? And then I told you I was blocking it, a couple.
Yeah.
When I was blocking a couple, he must have fucking punched me in the nose. And I was drinking all the blood from the fucking nose.
Oh, and then you're throwing it up.
Throwing up all this blood all the way to the fucking hospital. I mean, a lot of it. And then when they put that liquid in me, it liquefies it, so it's like double, right? So turns out I got lucky. He missed my spleen. He missed the thing on my neck. I got lucky. And then here's a good point. So check this out. Here's something fucked up. So I'm in the hospital. It's a little unusual. A lieutenant or something calls the CO, puts me and goes, Dean, I need you to talk to your brother if you can to stop this disturbance, whatever. He goes, but anyway, you're going home Monday. You made parole. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay.
They're still giving it to you?
No. Monday comes, this motherfucker's got shackles. I said, what the fuck? What is it? Excuse my language. I cuss a lot.
Are you thinking I'm going home? Everything's good?
Yeah, you got to remember, I'm like 24 at the time, so I'm still a wild young boy. You're going to high security. I know what you're talking about. Listen, what that can do to you, you know what I'm saying? You think you go, and off the Supermax I go. Wow. So now it's like a shoe unit in other places is what it really is. It's a high security, the cages, the 23 hours a day, same thing. And now their boys, a bunch of them went over there. They didn't get locked up, but they take them out of the building. That's what they'll do until they sort the problem out. Now, he got half that crew is out in population. It's sort of like population. They got levels back then. You're in either 23 hours a day, or you're out in population for an hour, or they have what's called A status back then. You're out all day, but a tiny little block. So I'm in a fucking window. I'm looking up a hallway. I'm in Supermax. The pro board calls me. They say, listen, we heard it was over drugs. We think you would have got him first. He just got you first. We're going to rescind your parole. Lost my parole. Then I see these guys through. There's a lot of windows in those new high securities. You know how they always you can always see something. And they're mad dogging me through the fucking window. Guys that I once knew from the West End as a kid, who are now embraced the 5% nation, have now, and I ain't got a problem with this. I'm just telling you a story. Have now kind of turned on me because now they're done with these New York dudes. They thought I was scared. I got so fucking mad, strapped up, went to what they call the bubble, told the guy in the bar, I said, listen, this stab wound's really bothering me. I got to get to the hospital. Fucking go up to the hospital. Go into these guys, it's their library. I got out of the fucking block, go in the library. Again, not a tough guy thing. It's just, I try to explain to guys, it's more of a psychological thing that motivates even a little motherfucker like me. If I think that you think I'm afraid of you, now I'll go above and beyond. You know the routine. I'm trying to maintain my reputation. My reputation's bruised. I'm trying to fucking maintain it.
There's videos of me doing that.
Yeah, I wish I had some videos. So anyway, I stepped to them, but they quelled it. Went away. I finished my bid. I did a 2.5 more. 5 years later, I was going to court on a bank robbery. I see the dude in the van. I'm handcuffed to one guy and shackled because I was in high security again at one leg. He's handcuffed to a guy, big ass. When I tell you it's about 2:30. Anyway, punched his fucking lights up.
This is the same guy that stabbed you.
That's 5 years later on the sheriff's van. But back then we said Marshall. And I was in SAG for months. You know when you're in SAG, you're young, you work out, you're a fucking beast. You know, all this shit.
You're shadow boxing.
I'm hitting with that fucking rage. Punched him right out of the fucking van. So I didn't get it tonight. It wasn't an even number, no. I had some colorful beats. If you ever get a chance, you'll see one. You might even heard of the beat. I I had one with a guy, Manny Contreras. He fought Riddick Bowe.
I've heard that name.
It's a known story down here. This fucking guy, monster. I'm not going to get into the story, but viewers can see the video. I did it. I talk about the beef with him. More of a brawl. And I had to go up against this big motherfucker. So it was a close call. Because this guy will wreck you with his hands. And even with a knife, you better know how to use it. All I had was a little fucking razor. But what I had was that not give a fuck. And I looked him in the eye. And he went down in the first round with Riddick Bowe. Now I know why. He was a tough guy, but didn't have that killer instinct. And I looked him in the eye, and he's trying to take my head off. I said, "You're gonna die today, motherfucker." And once I got in his head and I nicked him first, without my friend nicked him, he caught some blood. Anyway, I ended up catching him. My whole thing is, it don't matter how small you are, how big. A lot of people think the biggest guy they got it all wrong, as you know. I try to enlighten people, but I try to do it from a humble perspective. I'm telling you a story, I get a little excited, but listen,
it's all good, man.
It's really about, are you willing to step up no matter what the outcome might be? Sometimes you're in a situation where you might get fucked up, but you still got to go ahead with this because that's what it is. That's when you separate the men from the boys in those types of situations. And I guess the way I could put it is I had what it took to go to the next level. And it's so small down here again. You can put in a little bit of work, it'll go a long way. Because it's so small, motherfuckers are back the fuck up. Where you're in any other penitentiary, motherfuckers don't give a fuck about that. And no one even knows who the fuck you are anyway, because everybody's from so far away.
Yeah, like Connecticut, man. It's a small state. You run into people. I've had problems in prison with people, and have to handle it when you see them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a lot of that, but nowadays it's more fist fighting than anything. Yeah. Every now and then someone makes a serious move, but there's so much of that down there. Even when they go to the intake, guys go to court, they put them in the holding cell together.
Yeah, a lot of squabbling in there, right?
How many guys are in there? This guy killed this guy's brother. He's getting arraigned tomorrow. It's crazy. So they got their work cut out from the internal police with that shit up there. But any event, yeah, it's different. It's just different down there. But I know a handful of guys from out your way. 20 Love. I met some Spanish dudes from out there. It's so different down here where if it's a good con, I don't care where it comes from, you'll look out for him because you know this poor guy's in a block full of inmates and he's all fucked up. But somebody might contact me from out of state. Dean, I know this dude. He's my friend's boy's people. Can you? And I'll have to go to him and help this dude look. I don't necessarily befriend him, but I tell him what's what. Oh, you know one little thing I got to tell you because you mentioned it yourself. So after I got in the beef with the fighter was an LK. All right. Couple of years, I go to high security. I go back to Max. That guy that came down from Connecticut was the leader. That motherfucker's mad dogging me. Him and his 2 years later, because the beef happened in Max. Yeah. I mean, in medium. I went to high security, did my high security time down. I get transferred to Max. That guy comes down from Connecticut. He came down with another dude. I met the dude, a good dude. 2 guys came down. So now I'm hearing whispers because now when those guys come down, he's more serious. He's cleaning up house. He's straightening his guys up because they're all relaxed down here, polishing their cell floor. The fuck you polishing your floor? What the fuck you think you're not going to say? These guys are dead. That dude was dead serious. So he had his dudes making moves. I don't know the story, but from what I heard, one dude who was claiming that, and I don't know the right language, he told him, no, you ain't going to be recognized. The dude was waiting to get his paperwork from Chicago, but he ostracized, or that dude got so mad he hit him. Well, it escalated.
He said, you're not repping this on here. So right. The dude's like, nah, I'm not.
He's not on paper. The dude supposedly was from Chicago.
Yeah.
But the guy, a new sheriff in town. He's straightening things up. He's making guys put work in. I heard this guy insulted us last week. And these guys like, oh, let it go. What are you out of your? We're not letting nothing go. That type of shit. He's trying to stop. But if you come down here and do that, there's so many informants down here. They'll get rid of you quick. Every time a new leader comes down, it takes about a year less. They get them, they bury him in high security, they send them somewhere else because they don't want anybody with influence like that.
The weeds pluck theirself, man.
Yeah, and it's too weak down here. It's too small. Where the shit's on and popping and all those other joints. they get it in. I don't want to take it too much. They're always getting it in, but back in the day, when I say getting it in, guys are getting hit. Now,
all your time in Rhode Island prison, how many riots popped off? Say mini riots.
I'll call it an uprising. There's been, I don't know, I could say probably a half a dozen. And I don't really like calling it a riot because if no one got killed, does it deserve that title? Like no one really, a couple of guys get hurt. The last one in 90 was the biggest one, and that's when they changed the whole prison. All they did was tear the joint up. There's only been one real one where I see guys get hit in a riot. There hasn't been one since the early 80s, put it that way.
There's been a few in Connecticut, man. And
I know. I remember. I know a few dudes from out there. I ain't going to throw their name out there, of guys of different race. You could be in a hole with these guys. He's your neighbor. You might kick with him a little. You're not going to be friends. And so I learned a lot about Connecticut. A couple of guys I know went out there. And I remember when the riots were going on, motherfuckers were getting killed. I remember.
I think they opened in the auditorium in Cheshire.
Yeah, I remember they opened a couple of new prisons in the 90s so they could separate those dudes. I remember.
Yeah.
And, there ain't none of that going on down here at that level. But, so tearing the joint up and lighting some fires, is that a riot? I guess. But there hasn't been one since the early 80s where, 86. I remember a good one. I remember a guy, they had the warden and them there. They were in the dining room. Took the dining room over. And they had a cop hostage in the dining room. They had a staircase. They threw all these, because we used to have loose chairs back then. You had your own table. And they're like now, you can't move it was fucking nuts. You couldn't sit in a guy's chair. If you didn't have a chair, you didn't have the info, you stood up and ate, or you asked the guy. It was fucking nuts. But anyway, they had this fucking shield and fucking beating this guy up in the dining room, fucking him up. They blocked the doorway. But they broke the fucking gas stove and they tear the kitchen up. Now they got a gas leak.
So it's filming up and it's fumes.
They couldn't fire the fucking things in there because of the gas. My point is they have these cages over the window. So they bring it. They got one guy they suspect is an informant. They got like the warden or at least the deputy wardens and stuff in the window trying to talk to guys, And one guy, they dragged this fucking informant over to the window. The guy's got a pipe. This is what we do with your fucking informant. It was like that colorful shit like that, right? And I think that was the last interesting event. And they ain't really been nothing since then except, but there was no, let me say this. And let me say this about those 5% dudes. I forgot it. Because it turned out years later, I don't want to use the word befriend, but I don't care what race the guy is. If you do like a couple of years in a hole, and you see how strong he is, and he sees how strong you are, there's going to be camaraderie somehow to some level. You might not a certain respect for each other.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like this, a con will always respect another con. That's just the way a guy. So I come to respect a handful of them guys. They were putting in work. They had a couple of more uprisings after that where they put it in against the COs. They put it in. They fucked them motherfuckers up, and they did their time. And I got to know a couple of them, but I think I was trying to make up another point, but I was rambling on. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I state. I ain't trying to say these guys are punks. They were good dudes. They put some work in. And I thought of it because that was the last uprising where these guys won't stand against the fucking. And I got to be careful what I say because it looks like I'm inciting, and I'm on parole. I'm not trying to incite a fucking riot.
Yeah, it's definitely not that.
Out the joint right now.
You're just trying to explain your past experiences, and that's it, man.
Well, I do have to stipulate because believe me, these motherfuckers have thrown motherfucker in a joint for stupid shit.
Yeah,
but there's and another thing about the ACI, guys need to know. They use the fucking ACI. It's almost like one of the buildings. There's a PC for out of state guy. You got guys, whites. I don't want to use that term. We'll say AB guys from California. Mexicans from out there. What the fuck you doing down here in this weak ass joint? When I know you're coming out of Chino or wherever the fuck wherever they're coming from, right? And guys would dig up paperwork and find out. Yeah, they're testifying in cases. So I think they use it like a fucking. So you imagine you're me, an old con. This is the stuff you think you notice, and you're gonna like. If you want to go home and not live in Supermax the rest of your life, you're getting old. You're in your 50s. You can make it if you can make a couple of more years, or do you take all that shit on, and ain't no one back in your play? So you have to. It comes decision time. Do you go up against that and be that con still fighting? Or you get sick of that and I took the other road. And let
Just
me
go
tell
with
you
the
something.
flow, write your book, and then have a plan for when you got out.
I hate this, man. I don't want to make it sound like it was that easy. That transition was hard because you're letting a part of yourself go, man, your beliefs. You
It's
understand?
still hard. I'm sure it's still hard for you when you go to the store, someone disrespects you, and
Yeah,
you
right.
gotta just be like,
I'm the type of motherfucker looking to get you a fight. I got a real problem with that. So what I did was I got better at detecting stupid motherfuckers. I look at it like a minefield. If I go in a store, I can tell, body language. Let me get away from this dumb motherfucker, especially if I got my child with me, because there's a lot of trouble popping off now. As you know, around the country, you're gonna really pay attention. But yeah, I've learned to what's the word I'm looking for? Like I can read a situation better. So navigate, not there's a word where you can detect the trouble up ahead more or less. And so because I got better at that, I learned to avoid it. I spend a lot, but what happens is you start getting mad a little bit. Why the fuck am I avoiding shit? But then I look at my wife and my kid. What the fuck? That's why.
you're like, that's why.
That's
Yeah,
why. You
yeah.
understand? If I didn't have them, I ain't no one telling me what the fuck I would have did by now. But so
You could be really successful with all this stuff, man. Your book,
yeah.
and I'm gonna put a link for your book in the description of this video.
Yeah. I
And
actually have 3 of them. I wrote 3 of them, but I only self-published. I self-published 2. I had to yank one down because, and right now I'm actually rewriting the first one, revising it. But the first one's it's still a good, proper story, but I wanted to rewrite it because at the time my skills weren't up to par. But the fact that I wrote that in a cell, I hand wrote my books because I couldn't use typewriters in there. They don't have them, only for legal stuff in the library. So I hand wrote.
so, is it printed hand written or?
No, I hand wrote them. Then I put a thing online looking for like a female friendship. I didn't want a guy.
Yeah.
Not like a relationship, but like a friend. And sure enough, I got lucky. I found a woman. That's another whole story. I'll try to spare you. I got her to help me type it, and she put it on Amazon for me.
That's awesome.
And I didn't have a bank account because I didn't have a routing number. You need a bank account. The ACI don't allow you to get one. And so I had to take a shot on her. I took a lot of chances. Some of the time I like to tell you a story about how that girl that I asked for help started getting tripping like the fucking shit was hers too. Started selling my shit on the side, nothing. Listen, I went through hell over this book. Then I had to take it from her, put it in another friend's hands. What my wife had to go through to get my book from Amazon and put it on my name, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. Like, I can't even explain the terminology, but she took her a month for me to get my book back that I had on someone else's account because it was done on one place called Create Space, but then that company went out of business or somebody bought it and it ended up in someone else, some other company. So it really complicated things. And
sure.
But in any event, I got 3 books. I got an autobiography. I got to do one. I'm on the last rewrite of that. And I got a part 2 for the one I just wrote, the novel. But in any event, that is the one. Dark Impressions is on Amazon. You got the link. And I appreciate doing that for me because
definitely,
it's hard to push your book, as you know. What I wanted to say is, even though I'm revising it, what I have to say about, like I was trying to say, is I wrote that in a cell. There's something to be said about a guy's blood, sweat, and tears, his soul being poured into this raw while in a Supermax fucking cell going through it. You follow me? And that's where that shit's come. I'm digging into that insanity. So that book has a special place with me. You understand? Part of me don't want to rewrite it. I'm not going to change the storyline. I became better as sentence structure and stuff like that.
But they can get it now, right? They can pick it up now before you revise it.
Yeah. Well, I hate to explain that I'm revising it because someone might say, well, why would I buy that one? And I'm trying to explain why you should buy the first one. It's on because that's my true, real soul in that book. Now that I'm revising it and fixing it, it might read a little clearer, but it's the same story. So to answer your question, yes, you can buy the original one. I just wanted to show why the original one still has, I don't want to use the word importance, but there's something to be said about writing it the way I did. Yeah. So listen, buy that first one. There's something, the book has sentimental value like a motherfucker to me, In any event, like I said, I try not to ramble. I tend to do that. If you got any questions for me, come at me with them.
Hey man, I'm gonna have you on again, and we can go through more of your stories. I know you have a lot of stuff.
I have a lot of. Sometimes I forget until I start rolling on, man. But I seen a guy. I was watching an interview on somebody else. The problem with me is you start telling a story. There's so many things that branches off into.
Deviates, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to stick to the line, but I can't leave other things out. It's just I'm learning how to narrow it down and pick through it and just give it to you in the shortest form as possible. Because really, I'd rather listen to a guy tell it the right way. And a lot of people can't handle it. You know, a lot of ADHD. A lot of people got to be places, so they get bored with that. So I have to work on that.
But a lot of people like my show, though. They'll sit on their way to work and listen to the show and listen to your stories, and they like it, man.
Yeah, listen. I got a few that I tell a few prison stories. I did one where I try to, and I think I might have told you, enlighten people on what to expect if you got a family member coming home that did a lot of time.
Yeah.
So shit like that. That could be helpful. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't know how to go at you. You know, and you got this guy full of anxiety in a supermarket. He just did 30 years. You need to know that he's going through that. You know, help him. Like, you know, don't just stand there and let him deal with it because you don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, the anxiety and all that stuff.
Oh man, I remember the first time I went to a fucking a bathroom in some mall or some fucking thing, and I couldn't find the fucking knobs to turn on the sink. This was years ago. I'm like, wait,
yeah, because you got to just put your hands under there.
I didn't know that. I'm fucking anxiety. I start sweating. I'm like, I feel like an idiot. I don't want to ask nobody. Now I got to hang around the bathroom a little bit because there's a couple of people in there. I want to see how they do it. I seen a guy put his hand. I said, oh shit, a center of some kind.
Yeah.
But you know, the fuck, I got to hang around the bathroom, look like a fucking weirdo. But that's how I am. I want to learn. I'm hungry to learn. You follow me?
Yeah.
I'll do what it takes to get to the next level. So I'm starting to learn how to navigate. My wife's been teaching me how to, you know, navigate the computer and shit. So that's part of the acclimation. It's very frustrating, you know?
Yeah, you'll get it though, man. It'll all fall into place and it'll all work out.
Yeah. And I'm confident it will because it has been. Through trial and error, I'm starting to get some, and there'll be setbacks. And even these videos I'm doing, it ain't like I'm going to just get successful. You may have 2 steps forward, 1 backward. You might catch a break and move forward fast, or people might not take an interest. You know, my point is, I'm ready. I can deal with rejection too. You have to be ready to deal with rejection if you're going to get into this, right?
Yeah, you got to have a thick skin, not let your head get. Because I have a feeling you're going to get big, man, on this.
You know, I keep hearing that. That's what got everyone I talk to, like you, that are in this racket, or they say the same thing. I'm like, these guys can't all be just fucking blowing smoke on my ass. Maybe there's something. You know, a lot of people that have a little something, sometimes they don't know they have it. You don't know what you're doing. Other people have to tell you, hey, listen, do you realize the impact? People are saying that to me. Do you understand the impact?
Yeah, they're saying it to me about my show. I'm like, what?
Listen, and when they tell me that, it kind of makes you feel, it just feels good to do something constructive. Because a guy that did a lot of time has to be doing something that has worth. I don't know if that makes, because you've been in there and they suppress you in there for so long. They try to make you just a number.
Strip your identity away.
Strip your identity. So when you come out and you're doing shit like that, that's a big fucking deal to help a guy acclimate back to the world. So, so to all the viewers, if any of you feel that way, even not that I said anything too constructive tonight, but my videos do. So
Trust, you said a lot tonight, man. Maybe you don't see it, but a lot of people are going to take a lot away from this video.
Well, I appreciate that, because I'm being honest. Right now, I'm saying to myself, you had to kind of fuck this up. You didn't say a whole lot. I'm always beating myself up about when I write the video. I don't want to say it's a lack of confidence, because I got a lot of confidence, but I lack a little something that I got to sharpen, apparently, because I drive my wife nuts. This fucking video is no good. Hey, what are you talking about? We like, people are gonna like it. All right, sure enough, she's right. So anyway,
you just gotta keep going with it, man. I'll leave a link for your show in the description. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to his show, and I look forward to doing more shows with you in the future, man. You want to give anyone a shout out before we go?
No, but I do want to thank all your viewers that took the time to listen in on me, man. I appreciate that, And I want to thank you, of course. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you again. We'll do this again sometime.
Definitely, man. I'm always around. Right. And thanks for taking this time, man.
Hey, you're kidding. I had a good time.
Hey, man, pick up his book, check it out, and
well, let me say, can I say one last thing? The story in the book is a very realistic depiction of what it would be to be rubbing shoulders with mob guys in the 80s in Providence. It's fictitious, but it's very realistic. It's not some bullshit where everybody fucking gets $1 million and rides off happy in the end. And I got part 2 coming at you. It's taking me a minute. And that's all I wanted to say on that.
That's awesome, man. We'll get into more stories next time you come on the show. Maybe we'll do a live show next time.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. Let's do it. All right?
Definitely. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. Till next time. Peace. Thanks, man.
All right, thank you.